On the first anniversary of his wife's death, Xavier Redchoose got up before light and went downstairs to salt the cod. He sat in his kitchen, green notebook in hand, rubbing his left thumb along the stained pages, waiting for delivery. Through the restaurant window he could see the golden stalk of a fading moon. Around him the torn poem was silent, except for the morning wind, making the front doors shiver. It was going to be a trying day, of that he was sure. The local fisherman arrived promptly, his adolescent son trailing behind him, father genuflecting, son's eyes downcast and fixed on the backs of their silver-blue catch. It was this same boy who'd found Xavier's wife, floating in the sea, limbs tentacled, and carried her corpse onto the beach. He said Nia's dead voice sounded like rotting pineapple, sweet and grating as she tapped his chest. "Ye can put me down now, boy," she said. "It gone bad already." The fisherman's son watched her walk down the sand until he couldn't see her any more. "Why never hold her there?" snapped Xavier. "Call for me, something." "I never know how," the boy whined. "Take me 2 days to get him up here to tell you, macaenus," the father said. "Damn fool, go hide in a bush." When people died alone, without proper burial rites, the carcass wandered for years, rudderless, rotting and shrinking. They had all seen these ghosts, rebuilding their bodies with bits of rubbish, hanging on half-maddened. People who died alone, heart attack, stroke, old age, sleep and dream and dead, fall and lick your head on a rock. Poverty, murder, suicide, drowning. People whispered behind their hands, "All of them dead of the same thing, you know." Loneliness. It hurt Xavier to think of his fierce wife so. Xavier paid for the fish, 2 thick bellies and a sack of velvety cod livers, and watched the youth's trembling mouth as he hoisted it onto the kitchen table. He didn't forgive the boy. How hard was it to restrain a dead woman when so much was at stake? "Blessings, macaenus," said the fisherman. He patted the cod. "What good today, you hear?" Xavier nodded. He leaned against the kitchen door, listening to them make their way back through his cliff-top garden, imagining every plant they passed, his pearly bougainvillea, the night-blooming cereus climbing up the mango tree, his pawpaws and twin almond trees, his hot pepper pumpkins and white roses. He liked flowering plants between the herbs. They attracted the right kind of insect. Down the sheer steps they went, calling softly to each other, "Mind how you go." He liked the fisherman's voice. It reminded him of being young. "Before you got so very speaky-spoky, macaenus," his brother Io liked to say, grinning all over his face. Xavier sucked his teeth. He wasn't too fancy, whatever his elder brother said. He still knew how to curse a man in the language of their ancestors. Xavier rubbed his palm heel across his jaw. His beard needed trimming. Cheatsy, Io's 7-year-old daughter, would be in here soon, demanding breakfast from him. She was an early riser too. In the months just after Nia died, Cheatsy was the only person who dared come to his room without invitation, jumping into his hammock and swinging her legs. She told him he looked far too tall, and why didn't he do something about it? And when the room smelled, oh, so bad, she'd stretched her arm to open the window and turned his face towards the sunshine. "You going out today, uncle?" "Not today, Cheatsy." She pulled his nose until he gave in and tossed her, giggling, into the air. "Don't drop me, Uncle Speaky Spokey." Xavier took a deep breath and stepped out into his yard. The dark garden poured out in front of him, and beyond that the islands of Popisho. The torn poem was perfectly located on Batisant, right inside the capital, pretty town, but still private, on the cliff above the harbour. Up here he could see his diners snaking across the sand towards him, then away afterwards, a silvery line of nourished people, stretching back to the sea like foam. After he fed them, some swam, some danced. An orange sliver climbed the horizon no more than the peeping eye of an egg. He closed his eyes and began turning a single slow circle, back straight, arms out and palms up. Beaches east and west at the end of his fingertips. The old gold bay and its harnessed fishing boats splintered across the soft water. The tall, thin schoolhouse. Bend-down market, the solemn, chiming temple. Why, his finger might just touch it. One of the toy factories, painted ugly green like something you found up your nose after a bad cold. Squat, creamy cottages spiralling into the hills, lit by front-yard cook fires at night. Sometimes he visited the owners and offered them fire dye in particular colours so that his diners could admire the light. Yes, Macaenus, they said, smiling at his quiet face, of course for you and the gods that chose you. Xavier stopped circling and opened his eyes. Batisant's sister island, Dukayai, glimmered in the distance, its thick hide grainy in the dawn. You could see the dead islands if you looked north and squinted, like a spray of wet blue pebbles. It had been so long since he'd walked them. The world was stirring awake again, and he had a list of things to do today in his green notebook.